So Ripple just filed what could be a bombshell legal play. They sent a letter to Judge Nepern replying to the SEC's response, in which the SEC is supposed to turn over documents to Judge Nepern for review, and Ripple wants the judge to look at 3 specific pieces of information. Well, in this process, they looked over the privilege log that the SEC provided and said, you can't see any of these documents because they're privileged. Ripple's team pulled out one specific document. I'm going to tell you what that is and why this document could be the most important document of this entire case. And just its existence goes heavily in Ripple's favor. And since we're getting down to what could be the end of this case, at least in the next couple of months, I wanted to take a look at what some other people outside of technical analysts are predicting for the price of XRP. So I took a look at a few and what they're saying about what XRP might actually do from a macro perspective. And if you've been following some of the other altcoins right now, Cardano and Solana have been making waves over the past couple of weeks. They were the ones making big price moves when Bitcoin really wasn't doing anything. But I'm going to tell you about what you might want to look for if you're looking for big gains from the altcoins in this Q4. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news and investment markets and personal finance. So if any of those topics interest you and you want to follow along, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon so YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. And I believe that people in the crypto space are some of the most generous people on the planet. So if you're feeling generous today, I'd really appreciate it if you do 2 things. Number 1, smash the thumbs up button. Number 2, watch this video all the way to the end. It really helps out. Those are really the 2 best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So with that, let's get into it. So as you might know, if you've been following some of the altcoins like Cardano and Solana, which supposedly are going to give Ethereum a run for its money, they've made some big price moves. But recently I saw a few analysts and speculators talking about what Cardano and Solana might do in this Q4 with the rest of this market cycle. Well, there's one thing that you might want to pay attention to, in that, in my opinion, I think Cardano and Solana are both going to be doing extremely well, but so will Ethereum. But if there's one thing that you might want to take a look at, it's the DeFi sector. Now, decentralized finance has becoming huge, and it's also huge on Ethereum, but it's one of those sectors that is really starting to be built out on these other cheaper platforms like Solana and Cardano. The gas fees for Ethereum, people are just complaining that they're so extremely high right now. A lot of people are moving over to these other platforms and waiting for specifically some of these decentralized financial platforms to be fully available. Now, once they are, this is actually the sector that you might want to take a look at. In fact, from some of the influencers that I watch, specifically Lark Davis and Max Mayer, who's covered some of these, they're looking at 20, 30, 40, even at 50x for some of these projects. Now, you have to look at them specifically, and they're a little more speculative, of course, but something like that is absolutely possible. And you have something in the microcap sector that's not even technically in the size or scale of most of the altcoins. But keep in mind, the SEC has just added a new top attorney to their stable. And in fact, he used to be the CFTC commissioner. And his name is Dan Berkovitz. And the reason I mention it is because he was the one that specifically mentioned concerns about the DeFi space. So now that he's a top attorney at the SEC and he has concerns for the DeFi space, well, I think you can do the math on that. So just one thing, if you're looking to speculate, that is one sector you might want to be looking at. But just a heads up. And as we move to the Ripple versus the SEC story, I wanted to see what some of the other people were predicting for XRP. Not just technical traders, but those that look at the fundamentals and the macros. So Raoul Pal, who's a former Goldman Sachs executive, recently talked about XRP and why he thinks that XRP has one of the best risk-reward ratios in all of crypto. In fact, he said probably a 10x by the end of this year. Makes a lot of sense. Now, when you consider that he and a couple other people said the worst case scenario for XRP could be a 20 to 30% drop, meanwhile, the high end, you're looking at least a 4x just to get to its all-time highs. And if we're going to continue to see this bull market play out the rest of this year, a 10x is more than likely. Okay, so now we're going to move into this bombshell piece that Ripple's attorneys just unearthed that could absolutely end this case. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but just listen. Ripple said that in this discovery phase, it needs access to the SEC's documents and its interagency communications on its thoughts about Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP, and any analysis that it had. Well, the SEC said, no, you're not going to get access to that. And then Judge Nepern said, yes, you need to turn over those documents. A while went by, they didn't turn over documents. Ripple said, Judge, they didn't turn over the documents. And the judge said, The SEC, you got to turn over the documents. And once again, the SEC said, no. And then once again, for the third time, the judge said, listen, you have to turn over these documents. Even if you're not turning them over to Ripple, you have to turn them over to me. So the SEC said, fine, but some of them might be privileged because, we're important government people. So the judge said, fine, submit it with a privilege log. Well, they submitted that privilege log, and this is what Ripple absolutely tore apart and found a gem. Now, before I get into what exactly it is, I want to say a big shout out to James Filan on Twitter and attorney Jeremy Hogan on Twitter, who found this and tweeted it out. So you can go and follow me there on Twitter. I will have that posted in my feed as well as go follow those guys. They're really up on everything on Ripple. Okay, so on page 13 of Ripple's response to the SEC, here's what attorney Jeremy Hogan found. It was revealed that on June 13th, 2018, that the SEC's Division of Corporate Finance wrote a memorandum entitled Legal Analysis of XRP. Just the existence of this document alone is incredibly important to this case for Ripple. Now, the memorandum was actually sent out to at least 9 members to the SEC's Division of Corporate Finance. Not only that, it included Bill Hinman himself. Now, when did this go out? This went out one day before Bill Hinman's famous Ethereum is not a security speech. Now, they picked this specific document out because A, it's incredibly important to Ripple's case, but also to make sure Judge Netburn knows that it's there. So the SEC basically asserted that you can't see this document because it is an attorney work product, meaning it's subject to a privilege because an attorney was writing it up for a specific reason. The other reason that they mentioned is that it has client-attorney privilege, which, of course, in the legal sector, that's typically protected. And the other reason that they said that you can't see it is because it's part of an investigative case. Well, Ripple's attorneys masterfully ripped all of those points to shreds. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a multi-page letter that they wrote specifically concerning why the privilege dispute does not hold up on the SEC's side. They ripped apart why they believe it is not an attorney work product and also why it's not a client-attorney privilege document because they said, well, who's the client and who's the attorney? Neither was mentioned. In fact, there is no client. And the SEC also says that it's part of an investigative file, but Ripple, of course, says, no, it wasn't. It was just a legal analysis long before there was any type of possible enforcement action towards Ripple, which would actually come 10 months later, that it would even be brought up to the Division of Corporate Enforcement, and almost a year and a half later before the lawsuit was actually filed against Ripple. Now, Ripple's attorneys are doing a masterful job of painting the SEC attorneys into a corner, and like I said in my last couple of videos, it's kind of like a heads I win, tails you lose scenario. So, of course, Ripple's hoping that the judge sees this, and that they will have to essentially unseal or unprivilege that document for the judge to see it. Now, what does that document actually say, and what does it pertain to the case? Well, in my opinion, this is even less important than just the fact that that file even exists. Okay, so it's a legal analysis of XRP by the Division of Corporate Finance. So what if it says that there is no clarity, they're not sure if it's a security or not? During their thorough analysis, they weren't able to make a determination. Well, that's a huge win for Ripple because their whole defense is the fair notice defense, which means they never got fair notice or any type of clarity that what they were doing could have been a securities violation. So that would be a win for Ripple. But what if it says it is a security? In their view, XRP is a security. Well, guess what? They still win on a fair notice defense because if that in fact was the case, the SEC never told anybody and never sent that memorandum around to anybody, specifically the Division of Corporate Enforcement. So why would they not send it to the Division of Corporate Enforcement and meet with Ripple and tell Ripple to continue to meet with the Division of Corporate Finance while not telling them that their legal analysis says that XRP is a security? That doesn't make sense. And not only that, if the analysis was that XRP is a security, why did they wait a full year and a half to bring any type of legal proceeding against Ripple? And the other option is that this document says that XRP is not a security. Well, if it says that, then it's pretty much case over, because if XRP is not a security, then the case against them is pretty much moot, because how can you have a securities violation since they were claiming that you knew that you were selling an unregistered security? If the Division of Corporate Finance, the SEC's own division, declared it not a security, the lawsuit's pretty much over. So no matter what this document says, it's a win for Ripple because their fair notice defense holds up for every single outcome. Now, of course, I am not a legal expert. This is my take along with some other very smart people's takes on Twitter and on YouTube that I've seen. And of course, we're going to wait to see what attorney Jeremy Hogan has to say about this because no doubt he will be coming out with a video with a more thorough explanation. So what's going to happen is Ripple cannot actually win this case until all of the discovery process is over. That's not going to happen until about mid-November. What happens after that is Ripple can then finish filing for summary judgment, hand it over, and the judge can essentially give Ripple a summary judgment win, if that's what the judge actually decides. And of course, settlement is always on the table, and that could end the case at any time. So if you really want to read some of the nitty-gritty and the way that Ripple's attorneys masterfully wrote this response, I will pin that to my Twitter feed, so you can go and follow me there, and you'll be able to see that document. It's actually a very long document, but specifically, you're going to want to look at pages 13 through 17. Some absolutely awesome information in there. All right, guys, well, once again, thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.